In this episode, we're going to share with you our complete car camping overlanding gear list and how we pack it all in there.
This is all the necessary gear to make our adventures comfortable, enjoyable, and safe.
Our list works with any adventure we go on, from a couple of days to a couple of weeks. It also includes some optional equipment.
We'll show you what gear we use, brands, and why we prefer it.
Let's start with our kitchen gear. Now we happen to have a set of drawers that we built in the back of our 4Runner, but you can easily use either totes or even boxes. We have a couple of videos on our channel that would show you exactly how you can build a set of drawers like this and a set of drawers that's a little bit simpler to make. We're going to start with the middle drawer. First, a cutting board, a collapsible sink, two plastic plates, a frying pan, two frying pans actually. We prefer cast iron when we're cooking. It's really heavy and bulky, but we prefer it, so it's one of those things that we put up with the inconvenience of packing it just because we like to use it so much. Another frying pan. This is a stainless steel model made by MSR. What's nice about this is a detachable handle. We don't usually use this as much as the cast iron, of course, but what we do use it for is a drip pan for our crock pot. This is great when you have a road day, when you're on an interstate or highway or something for most of the day. You can fill this thing up with something at around noon. By the time you get in the camp late, you'll have a nice hot meal ready for you. We have it secured onto the top of our drawer system with these eye bolts and a strong bungee. And then when we're ready to cook, we'll just plug it in over here into a 12-volt outlet. Good to go. A couple of stainless steel pots. These are two different sizes, as you can see. Again, made by MSR. What's really nice about these is, for one thing, the handle folds up like this and latches, but they nest, and this really saves on space. Whenever you can get anything that will nest together, that's perfect. This is a scorch plate or a diffuser plate. What we use this for is putting it on top of the burner of our stove, our pot or pan on top of that. What this does is it reduces the fire right on the bottom of the pan, so it prevents scorching. And this is especially useful if your stove doesn't throttle down to a low simmer. A couple of cups. Actually, this is 4 cups and these are made by GSI Outdoor. They're plastic, they're relatively inexpensive. But what's nice, again, nesting, there's another cup inside here. On quick mornings, what we'll do is put coffee in one, cereal and milk in the other, and hit the road. A coffee pot. This is just a cheap aluminum one, made by Coleman. This can also be, if you're really short on space, you can also take the guts out and use it as a pot. Cook a meal in it, or just boil water for MREs or freeze-dried meals. Couple of pot holders, keep your hands from burning, and also it reduces rattles in the back here while you're driving. This is a splatter shield for the frying pan. We don't have a traditional lid for it, but this keeps your stove a lot cleaner. You don't have that bacon grease just flying all over the place.
So here we have our kitchen cleanup area, and this lid doubles as a cutting board. I have a green scrubber, which I usually keep in a Ziploc bag because it's always wet. I put the dish soap in there so it's double bagged, because there's nothing worse than opening the drawer and finding dish soap and bubbles all over everything. We take along towels like these, think ShamWow, because they're quick drying. We keep Ziploc bags for stinky leftovers. We put the Ziplocs into garbage bags go in the trasheroo. And some hand sanitizer. Now for the top drawer. This is our Coleman Triton stove. It's a 2-burner and it's not very expensive. It'll turn down to a low simmer. It's really easy to clean. Just don't forget to take along the gas regulator tube. For fuel, we have a 5-pound tank mounted here, but we always take along an extra bottle just in case we run out or have issues. In the front, we keep a couple of stackable bins. And in the first bin, we keep a can opener, a little military can opener just in case of can opener failure. Most important to me, a corkscrew, the handle to that frying pan, a little whisk, and some tongs. In the second bin, we keep a spatula. We cut the handle off to make it fit better in the bin. We have the serving spoon, which also doubles as a measuring cup. It has lines inside. That regulator tube for the stove. We have a couple of knives, some hand sanitizer, silverware, and we always like to take along a little olive oil, but we make sure we put it in some Ziploc bags so that it doesn't leak all over. The pump for our air mattress goes here. Next, some toilet paper. We always keep it in a plastic Ziploc bag because there's nothing worse than soggy toilet paper. Even if you're planning to camp in a campground, never depend on an outhouse having toilet paper. Always take some extra along. Next, our big knife and our lighter. Some paper towels. Salt and pepper. And extra batteries for our air pump.
Okay, on to the bottom drawer. In it, we have our big toolbox and some recovery equipment, winch controller. Here's a cord. The winch controller is wireless. But just in case the wireless fails, we can hardwire it to the winch. We have this blow-up light. It's a solar light. You see there's a little solar panel on the bottom here. We prefer subtle lighting like this around camp at night instead of the big bright lanterns. And base for the high lift jack. This is great for when you're in sand or soft ground so the high lift doesn't sink in. This is an adapter for the high lift that'll fit on our tubes of our rock sliders. Tire deflators. We usually keep these up front once we get to a place where we're going to be airing down. Couple of shackles. This is an air nozzle for our onboard air compressor. This is great for cleaning stuff up, blowing dust off of everything, cleaning out the engine air filter, and especially just in case that air pump for our mattress fails, we have a way of filling up our mattress. We have a saw, which we rarely ever use, a hammer. This is a mosquito coil burner thing. You put these little mosquito coils in there, light them up, it sends out a whiff of smoke, and that keeps the mosquitoes away, pretty much. And some spare stakes. These are some special stakes that, just in case we have extra hard ground, we can pound these in with a hammer for our tent or our tarp. And then, oh, we have a spare 12-volt cord just in case. And that's about it. How do you turn it off? There we go.
This is the Trasharoo brand bag. We're looking to upgrade to something a little more durable in the near future. Now, the Trasharoo can be used for multiple things. Sometimes we put firewood down in the bottom or dirty clothes. We have this little kitchen garbage can that we line with a garbage bag, and it fits down in there nicely. This is our trusty old toilet. And don't worry, that's just dirt, it's not poo. The inner ring snaps out and you can put bags in case you're in a delicate area where you need to pack out your waste. This folds down just like a stool. And it fits right in behind the garbage can inside the Trasharoo. These are the toilet bags I was talking about. We put them inside with yet another roll of toilet paper and some hand sanitizer. And we just tuck it away in a side pocket. This is an inexpensive shovel you can use to dig your waste hole, and you can also use it to dig out around your tires if you get stuck. The shovel folds down just like this, and you can stick it in another side pocket. We have bug spray and sunscreen that we also keep in a pocket just so we can get to it easily from outside.
Now on to what we put in our cases we have mounted up on our roof rack. This side holds the two things that usually get put away wet, the tent and the tarp. For a tent, we use one that we got at REI. It's relatively inexpensive. I bet you it didn't cost over $400. It's a pretty decent quality though. Comes in two pieces. The main body is mostly mesh. That's really great for ventilation in the warmer months. And we also oftentimes sleep without the fly over the top. That way we can see the stars really easy. That's a great way to sleep. The fly itself is totally waterproof and covers the whole thing, comes all the way down to the ground. That's an important thing to look for in a tent. Tent poles, tent stakes. Don't forget these. For a tarp, we use one from Slumberjack. It hooks onto the back, provides a tremendous amount of living area. Really nice when it's pouring down rain. Stakes and lines, and a couple of collapsible poles. They go down pretty small, that's what, 3 feet or so? And it goes out to what, 7 feet? Yep, 7 feet. Thing you want to watch out for when you put stuff in these types of cases is make sure that nothing gets along the edges right here and gets pinched. Now the box on the other side is where we put a lot of our camera equipment, tripods, Steadicam, gimbals, all that good stuff. Okay, a couple of alternative tarps. We have one that we sometimes use, especially when we take the FJ out. And it's just a small nylon tarp. I think it measures 9 by 9, but we hook it onto the side, comes out this way. Another tarp that we have that we often use when we're going up north to Michigan, Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, where the bugs are really bad. The nylon tarp with bug netting on all 4 sides. This is a lifesaver in those conditions. This is made by a friend of ours, Dan Cook. He heads up Cook Custom Sewing out of Minnesota. Give him a shout out, go to his website. I believe this is called the Tundra Tarp. I might be mistaken on that. We've had this for, gosh, probably 15 years. On to bedding. 30 plus years ago when Mary and I first started out doing this, all that was available was that little 1/2 inch thick blue foam pad that you rolled out. And then Thermarest came out some years later, and they had the self-inflated pad like this. Then they came out with this style. This is about 1.5 inches thick, and this is really nice, very, very comfortable to sleep on. But since we have the room for it, we carry along a full-size air mattress. This is heaven. Okay, for sleeping bags, we use North Face down bags. There's 2 of them in here. These are rectangular bags, so they can be zipped together, makes a nice bed. This bag here, this is just for storage with the mesh sides, and it doesn't compact the bags very much. The thing with sleeping bags and mattresses too is you don't want to store them for a long time compressed, because then they won't decompress as easy the longer you have it stored that way. Now the reason why we like down so much is because it's super comfortable, incredibly warm. It compacts down. This will compact down to 1/4 of this size here. The downside of down is if it gets wet, it's no good anymore. The feathers clump up and it doesn't insulate anymore, and it takes forever to dry out. So if you're using a down bag, you have to make sure it stays dry. Pillows, we've got the room, so we use full-size pillows. Alternatives to that is, this is made by Thermarest. What it is there's a bunch of foam stuffed in this bag, and then it'll kind of come back to life when you open it up to a decent pillow. If you're really cramped on space, you take a cloth sack like this and just stuff a fleece jacket in it, or your spare clothes, and that'll serve as a pillow. Here's our sleeping bags in a compression sack. Now, what I forgot to mention before is our sleeping bags are rated as 30-degree bags, which is fine for most of the time. But if it gets a little colder, or we're expecting colder weather, we take along a nice heavy wool blanket. This is actually an antique Hudson Bay blanket. And this is warm. Now, what to pack all this in? We have 2 options, and it depends on how much room we need inside if we're bringing another person with us. If we are, then we need to put it up on the roof rack. To do that, we use one of these. This is made for canoeing and kayaking. It's waterproof, it's vinyl coated, and what you do is fill it up with all that good stuff, and then up at the top here, you fold down the closures, and you roll it, and then there's some compression straps here that makes it nice and watertight. And then we just strap it up on top. But if we have room inside, we use a tote like this. We use another tote for all of our clothes, jackets, and hygiene stuff. Okay, on to chairs. Now we've used this type of chair forever, and I never really did like them. The back, you kind of slouch down in it. It's really not very comfortable. And you have these pressure points right here on your legs. You kind of feel all cramped up in there. And they don't compact down very easy or very small. They're kind of cumbersome. So we've moved on to this type of chair. It's a king camp. I don't know who exactly makes it, but I'm sure there's a lot of manufacturers that do make these. We really like this because it doesn't have the pressure points here. You sit more upright in it. You're not all slouched in like the other type of chairs. Has a really nice table on the side, and it compacts down and folds down to a nice little unit like this. And this is a little easier to fit into the vehicle. Now, if you're really cramped for space, an alternative to this is this type of chair. And we use these a lot when we're out canoe camping because it does compact down to just a little tiny unit like this. This is an REI Flex Light chair. Now these are much more comfortable than they look. You do sit low to the ground and it doesn't have much of a back on it, but the lightweight and the size really makes up for that. A table. We don't use this all the time. We usually just use our countertops in the back and the side tables on our chairs. But if you need a little bit extra table, this is foldable, compactable kind of thing. This is really easy to set up. You just simply screw the legs in after you put these crossbars across the bottom of it. And it's got a nice little pouch here for all the legs and the crossbars. This is camp time. It's a camp time table. It's fairly sturdy. I think there's aluminum slats inside that vinyl. And it does come in handy. Just like that. Something else that we take is a small pack that is filled with our rain gear. And something else that we find very nice to have is bug shirts. Here's Mary modeling one. We keep this right behind the passenger seat so we can grab it really easy, throw a water bottle or two in it, and go off on a hike real quick. There's some things on our gear list that we list as optional, and most of it pertains to cooking. One of those items is an oven. Now, baking when you're out camping is great. Fresh baked bread, you can't beat that. Pastries, cookies and such is great. But we're not going to be doing that in this upcoming trip. Now, if we were going to bake something on this trip, we would take one of these. This one is a reflector oven. It's made by a friend of ours, Scott Harris. He goes under the website Old Scout Products, I believe it is. Google Old Scout, you'll find the reflector oven. This is wonderful. You have to have a small fire in front for it to bake, and you have to turn the pan every, half hour, not half hour, you burn the crap out of it. But every now and then you have to turn the pan, but that's no big deal. This works great. This is probably our go-to oven. The next one is a Dutch oven, and these have been around forever, and they work real slick, and a lot of people swear by these. I really like it, but it's big and heavy, and what you do is you put coals on top, coals on the bottom, and it works great, but like I said, heavy and bulky. This is more like a backpacker oven. It's an Outback oven. How it works is this is a fire retardant. I think it's Nomex. It's a cover over it. Then it's got the lid. And on top here, there's a little thermostat. It just says warm up, bake, and burn. You want to keep it in the bake area there. It's got a non-stick pan that can double as a frying pan. And you can do this on your big 2-burner stove, but I don't know how it would work with this because you have to have the burner up a little bit because this goes over it, so I don't know if it'd work that well on a 2-burner. But we always, if we were going to use this, we always bring along our little MSR rapid fire, a little butane stove that we've had for probably 30 years or so. Still works great though. Something else that pertains to cooking that we're not going to take on this trip are pie irons, and these are like a cult favorite. There are so many cookbooks and so many websites dedicated to just cooking in these pie irons. What they do is, this is cast, either aluminum or iron, and they open up somehow. This is a double one. And you put your stuff in there and you put it right on the fire. And like I said, it's kind of a fun thing, fun way to cook. We've had this one here for a long time. Something else is a toaster. I don't know how many of you have ever seen one like this. This design has been around for decades and decades. I remember when we were kids, Mom and Dad had one like this. You just put it on the stove, put your bread on these on this wire, and it does a really good job toasting bread. And then we have a little grill that goes over the fire, of course. Since there are fire bans all throughout where we're headed on this trip, we're not going to be taking this either. Unfortunately, we won't have any fires.
Traction boards.
Check.
High lift.
Check.
Gas tank.
Check.
In the interest of saving a little weight, we usually travel with the gas tank empty until we get to a place where we need the extra insurance. Water tank.
Check.
Solar panel.
Check.
Full propane tank.
I forgot to fill it.
First aid kit.
Check.
Flashlights.
Check.
Fire extinguisher.
Is it charged?
Fully.
Check.
Air compressor, air hose.
Check.
Long cord for solar panel.
Check.
Extra camera batteries and chargers.
Check.
Permits, reservations, and itineraries on the clipboard.
Check.
Maps.
Check.
Garmin.
Check.
Tablet with Gaia.
Check.
Phone with apps.
Check.
Water bottle.
Check.
Sunglasses.
Check.
Our entire list is in the video description below.
Well, that's our list. We might have missed out a few little things here and there. If you have any suggestions or additions to our list, please leave a comment down below. And before you leave, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because we're going to be taking footage of this next trip we're going to be going on, and you'll be the first one to know when we upload the video.
So now we've made our list, we've checked it twice, we've packed, and we've double packed, and now we're gonna hit the road running.
God, that's
It
soft.
sucked. And some hand
Sanitizer.
This is all the necessary gear to keep our adventures comfortable, safe, and something.
So we moved on to this type of chair. This one is a Camp King. Camp King.
it again.
I did it again. Nicely packable. I ran out of breath. Turn it off.